So many great ideas, in many cases revolutionary ideas or thoughts in science and society and politics, were published as books. The individuals who had these flashes of genius, inspiration, um, wrote their ideas down in a digestible, logical form and published books. In terms of books that affected our world, shape our world, I go back to the lecture last week about the Gutenberg Bible, movable type printing press, the birth of mass communication, and the first books that were published were Bibles. And they're Bibles in people's native language, as opposed to in Latin or Greek that nobody, the common people, could read. They didn't know what was in the Bible. All of a sudden they could read what was actually in that mysterious book in their own language. First printed Bible in English, 1525. So 75 years or so after Gutenberg inventing the movable type printing press. This printed Bible in English was one of the things that led to the establishment of the Church of England. Under Henry VIII, England broke away from Catholicism, broke away from Rome and the Pope. The reason, the surface, a strong push for that was the fact that Henry VIII wanted his first marriage annulled. This queen did not give him an heir. He wanted an heir to the throne, and he ended up marrying several different women, some of whom had unfortunate endings. He was clearly someone who was not completely sane. In fact, when he died, it's suspected he may have died of syphilis. But having Bible in English helped pave the way and lay the groundwork among the people and the religious thinkers in the country to break away from the Church of England. Another book. This is Nicholas Copernicus saying that the earth revolved around the sun, that the earth was not the center of the universe. It's published as a book. That was a big idea at the time, and something else the Catholic Church didn't care for. Jumping ahead a few hundred years. This is referred to in the textbook. This is by Thomas Paine, and it's a book, fairly short book, but it was a book called Common Sense, addressed to the inhabitants of America, of the origin and design of government in general, with concise remarks on the English Constitution, of monarchy and hereditary succession, thoughts on the present state of American affairs, of the present ability of America, with some miscellaneous reflections. Man knows no matter save cresting heaven or those whom choice and common good ordained. Anyway, this contributed to the American Revolution. Here's another scientific one. I think this is, I've got my chronology out of order. This is Isaac Newton talking about gravity and other things. Another brilliant scientific book. This one a political book. This one's scientific. Here's another political book. This is the Manifesto of Communism by Karl Marx in the 1800s. He was living in London. His thinking in this book helped give rise to the Russian Revolution and communism as a form of government in different parts of the world. Here's another social book that had quite an effect, written by a white woman, Harriet Beecher Stowe, called Uncle Tom's Cabin, or Life Among the Lowly. This was a white woman's attempt to depict slavery in America and how evil it was. And a lot of people read it who either became abolitionists or became more strongly abolitionist in their sentiments, published in 1852. Here's another scientific one. This is The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life by Charles Darwin, 1859. Another revolutionary book. There are people that still do not believe in this. This has been proven by science, but nevertheless, there are those who don't believe in it. I think Charles Darwin and many evolutionists believe that it's possible to have religious feelings and still believe in evolution. This is jumping way ahead now. Look, it costs $2.95. This is the Women's Health Book Collective. This wasn't one author. This was several to many. Our Bodies Ourselves, a book by and for women. Had a big social impact and maybe contributed to women's rights. This is a bad book, and I'm showing it to you. The Protocols of Zion. Not all documents that change the world are good. Some are despicable and leave hatred and bigotry in their wake. Documents That Change the World podcast series talks about the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. This is it's a virulent anti-Semitic book based on many falsehoods. This is an example of a book that did not get carefully edited and fact-checked and has had a very horrible effect on the world because some people believe it. But it is nevertheless a book that helped change the world in a bad way. You need to see those things too. So I'm going to stop here and load this one up, and then we'll talk about books and education. So we've